The SEAL's hand stopped halfway to the water pitcher. His eyes locked on Elena's wrist as she bent to wipe blood from the trauma room floor. Recognition flickered across his face like lightning. She saw it happen, knew exactly what he'd seen. The scar tissue was small, barely an inch, but unmistakable to anyone who knew what it meant. A specific pattern, a specific unit. Elena pulled her sleeve down and kept scrubbing. 36 hours earlier, St. Catherine's Medical Center at 2 a.m. existed in its own pocket universe, fluorescent and sterile, smelling of antiseptic and old coffee. Elena Martinez moved through the ER like smoke, her scrubs 2 sizes too big, dark hair pulled back in a bun held together with surgical tape. At 29, she'd mastered the art of being present but unnoticed. Sorry Martinez. Nurse Allison caught herself. Can you clean trauma too? GSW transfer just left a mess. On it. Elena grabbed the mop bucket and cleaning supplies. No one questioned why she always volunteered for the worst cleanup jobs. They assumed she was just that dedicated, or desperate to avoid interaction. Both were partially true. Trauma 2 looked like a war zone. Blood spatter on the walls, gauze wrappers scattered across the floor, the metallic smell of trauma still hanging in the air. Elena had seen worse. Much worse. Had caused worse. She started methodically, the way she'd been trained to clear rooms, corner to corner, systematic, thorough. The muscle memory never really left. Busy night. The voice came from the doorway. Elena glanced up. Dr. Chun, tablet in hand, not really looking at her. He never did. Standard Saturday. She kept mopping. He grunted and left. Elena exhaled slowly. 3 years she'd been here. 3 years of invisible competence, of blending into the background of hospital life. 3 years since she'd walked away from naval special warfare and everything that came with it. The ER doors crashed open. Incoming. Military transport. Elena's hands tightened on the mop handle. Military transports were rare here. St. Catherine's wasn't a VA hospital. They usually only came when VIP patient. Dr. Ramirez was shouting. Navy SEAL, training accident, possible spinal injury. Full trauma protocol. Her stomach dropped. The gurney came through fast, surrounded by men in tactical gear. Elena pressed herself against the wall as they passed, keeping her head down. But she caught glimpses. The patient was conscious, talking, giving orders even from the stretcher. Officer. Probably senior. Trauma 1, Dr. Ramirez directed. And someone paged neurosurgery. The SEALs who came with him took up positions outside Trauma 1 like sentries. Elena recognized the stance. Loose, but ready. Eyes constantly scanning. She'd stood that way 1,000 times. Martinez. Allison appeared beside her. We need all hands. You're assisting in Trauma 1. I'm not. I don't usually. Dr. Ramirez specifically asked for you. Said you're the calmest under pressure. Elena's jaw tightened. She wanted to refuse. Wanted to stay invisible. But refusing would draw more attention than helping. Okay. Trauma 1 was controlled chaos. The SEAL, Commander Jensen, according to his dog tags, was stabilized on a backboard. Mid-40s, gray at his temples, the kind of weathered face that came from too many deployments. Cervical spine stable, Dr. Ramirez was saying. But we need CT before we move him. Someone prep. No time. Jensen's voice was rough but authoritative. I can feel my legs. It's not spinal. I need to get back to my team. Commander, you fell 30 feet. I've fallen farther. His eyes swept the room, taking inventory of everyone present. They paused on Elena. She kept her face neutral, hands busy preparing supplies she might need. Martinez, start a second 4, Dr. Ramirez ordered. Wide bore left arm. Elena moved forward with the 4 kit. Jensen watched her approach with the intensity of someone who'd been taught to notice everything. You done this before? He asked. Once or twice. She swabbed his arm, palpated the vein. Her hands were rock steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. You're good at that. Thank you. Elena slid the catheter in on the first stick, secured it, hung the line. Professional. Efficient. Forgettable. But as she turned away, her sleeve rode up. Jensen's eyes narrowed. Wait. Elena's heart stopped. Your wrist, he said slowly. Let me see your wrist. Commander, we need to focus, Dr. Ramirez started. Now. Jensen's voice carried command that made everyone in the room pause. Show me your wrist. Elena had two choices: refuse and create a scene, or comply and end 3 years of careful hiding. She pulled back her sleeve. The scar was small but distinct, a specific burn pattern that came from a particular piece of equipment used by one particular unit. Not SEALs. Something else. Something that didn't officially exist. Jensen's face went pale. Combat Applications Group. His voice was barely a whisper. Your CAG. The room went silent. Dr. Ramirez looked confused. What's Delta Force? One of the SEALs by the door breathed. She's fucking Delta. Elena met Jensen's eyes. 3 years of hiding, gone in an instant. She said quietly. I was Delta. Bullshit. The SEAL by the door stepped forward. There's no women in. There weren't supposed to be. Jensen never broke eye contact with Elena. But there was one. Only one who made it through selection and deployment. They called her Ghost. The nickname hung in the air like smoke. Elena felt every eye in the trauma room lock onto her. Dr. Ramirez's confusion. The SEAL's disbelief. Allison's shock. Ghost disappeared 3 years ago. Jensen continued, his voice steady despite the pain. Word was she burned out after an operation in Yemen went sideways. Intel said she might be dead. I'm not dead. Elena's voice was flat. I'm a nurse. You're Ghost. You said it with certainty. I saw your file once. Classified above my clearance, but I saw it. 73 confirmed kills. Expert in close quarters combat, languages, advanced tactical medicine. His eyes swept her baggy scrubs. And now you're mopping floors? I'm saving lives now instead of taking them. Elena pulled her sleeve back down. If you'll excuse me. No. Jensen tried to sit up and grimaced. I need to talk to you. Commander, you need to stay still. Dr. Ramirez protested. Clear the room, Jensen ordered. This is my trauma bay. Clear the room. Jensen's tone left no room for argument. Everyone except Ghost. Dr. Ramirez looked like he wanted to protest, but one of the SEALs touched his shoulder. Sir, when a SEAL Team 6 commander says clear the room, we clear the room. They filed out slowly. Allison gave Elena a look that promised questions later. The door closed, leaving Elena alone with Jensen. You can't tell anyone, she said immediately. Too late. My men heard. Jensen relaxed back onto the gurney. But that's not what I'm worried about. I need your help. I'm helping. I'm your nurse. No, I need your help as Ghost. He took a breath. The training accident wasn't an accident. Someone sabotaged our equipment. Someone who knew exactly how we operate. Elena's mind went cold and tactical. Inside job. Has to be. I'm commanding a task force hunting a weapons smuggler named Volkov. Ex-Russian intelligence. He's moving something big through San Diego. We're close to finding out what. And now suddenly our gear fails. Jensen shook his head. He has someone on my team. Tell your superiors. I don't know who's compromised. Could be anyone. Military intelligence, base security, hell, could be one of my own men. His eyes bored into her. But I know one person who definitely isn't working for Volkov. Someone who walked away from everything 3 years ago. No. Elena stepped back. I'm done with that life. People are going to die if Volkov gets whatever he's moving through this port. Civilians. Thousands of them. Jensen's voice was urgent. I need someone I can trust. Someone with your skill set. Find someone else. There is no one else. He tried to sit up again, failed. Look at me. I'm flat on my back. My team thinks they had an equipment failure, but they're walking around with a traitor in their midst. I need eyes and ears I can trust. You need a bodyguard. Hire one. I need Ghost. Jensen's jaw tightened. I read your file. All of it. I know why you left. Yemen. The civilian casualties. But that wasn't your fault. 16 people died because of my intel. Elena's voice cracked. Children died. Bad intel from a source who was compromised. You didn't pull that trigger. I called in the strike. She turned away. I'm done killing, Commander. I'm done with all of it. Silence filled the room. Then Jensen spoke quietly. What if I told you there's a nurse on my team? Elena turned back. Hospital corpsman, technically. HM1 Rodriguez. Best combat medic I've ever seen. Jensen's eyes were steady. He was on that Yemen op. He knows what happened. And he told me something after. He said Ghost spent 3 hours under fire trying to dig survivors out of that rubble. 3 hours, while everyone else pulled back. You saved 4 people that night before the evac. 16 died. 4 lived because of you. Rodriguez was one of them. Jensen leaned forward despite the pain. You want to save lives? Help me stop Volkov. Because whatever he's moving through San Diego, it's not medicine. Elena closed her eyes. 3 years. 3 years of hiding, of trying to atone through bedpans and IVs and 12-hour shifts. 3 years of telling herself she'd left that world behind. What do you need? She heard herself ask. Jensen exhaled in relief. Someone to watch my team. Someone who can read people, spot tells, identify the traitor before Volkov makes his move. I'm a nurse. I can't just. You're assigned to me now. Doctor's orders. 24-hour observation for potential spinal injury. He managed a thin smile. You'll have access to my men when they visit. They'll talk around you. They always do. Nobody pays attention to nurses. Elena almost laughed. It was true. If I do this, she said slowly, we do it my way. No guns. No combat. I observe, I report, I walk away. Agreed. And after, you never tell anyone else what you know. I go back to being Elena Martinez, RN. Ghost stays dead. Jensen nodded. You have my word. Elena looked at him for a long moment, reading his face the way she'd once read terrain. He was telling the truth. Desperate, in pain, but truthful. Fine. But Commander. She pulled out her phone. If this goes wrong, if this turns into another Yemen, I'm done. Forever. Understood. She started to leave, then paused at the door. The equipment failure. What exactly happened? Rappelling harness. The stitching failed at 30 feet. Elena's blood went cold. Stitching doesn't fail on military-grade equipment. It's triple reinforced, tested to 5,000 pounds. I know, which means someone replaced your harness with a civilian-grade knockoff. She turned back to him. Volkov's not trying to stop your investigation. He's trying to kill you specifically. Jensen's face was grim. That's what I figured. Then we don't have much time. Elena pulled out her phone. How soon before your team shows up? They're probably in the waiting room now. Good. Elena felt the familiar mental shift. Ghost waking up after 3 years of sleep. Let's find out which one wants you dead. The SEALs arrived in force 20 minutes later, 7 men in civilian clothes, moving with controlled urgency. Elena watched them from the nurse's station, cataloging every detail with eyes she'd kept deliberately unfocused for 3 years. HM1 Rodriguez was easy to spot, broad-shouldered Hispanic man with kind eyes, carrying a backpack that probably held medical supplies. He was the one who'd been in Yemen, who'd watched her dig through rubble while gunfire stitched the darkness. He glanced at her and froze. Recognition flickered across his face, then careful neutrality. He knew. Commanders in Trauma 1, Elena said, keeping her voice professionally neutral. He's stable. 2 visitors at a time. Rodriguez nodded slowly, his eyes asking a silent question. Elena gave the smallest shake of her head. Not yet. The first 2 SEALs went in, a lean African-American man and a younger operator with a fresh haircut. To the window, Elena watched their body language. Concern, relief, the rough affection of men who trusted each other with their lives. The third man made her instincts prickle. He was older, maybe 45, with the weathered look of too many deployments. But his eyes were wrong. Too calculating, scanning the hallway with an intensity that went beyond tactical awareness. Martinez. Dr. Ramirez appeared beside her. Commander Jensen's requesting you specifically. Something about his 4. Elena nodded and grabbed supplies she didn't need. Inside Trauma 1, Jensen had his hand on the 4 line. Gentlemen, give us a minute, he said. Nurse needs to check something. The 2 SEALs left. As soon as the door closed, Elena bent close. The third man. Older, scar on his left hand. Who is he? Jensen's eyes sharpened. Chief Petty Officer Dalton. 20 years in. What? He's wrong. Everything about his body language is off. Elena pretended to check the 4. How long has he been with your team? 6 months. Transferred in from another unit. Jensen's face went carefully blank. He's been solid. Proven. Proven how? High-value target in Pakistan. Dalton's intel led to a clean capture. Elena's mind raced. Intel from a source who was already verified. But Jensen's voice had doubt now. Commander, in my experience, the best plants are the ones who provide solid intelligence first. Builds trust. Elena straightened. I need to talk to him. How? He's going to need coffee. Everyone always needs coffee on vigils like this. She headed for the door. Keep your men rotating in pairs. Don't let Dalton in here alone. The hospital cafeteria at 3 a.m. was nearly empty. Elena bought 2 cups of terrible coffee and found Dalton sitting alone, scrolling through his phone. She approached carefully. "You look like you could use this." She offered the cup. Dalton glanced up, surprised. "Thanks. You're Jensen's nurse." "Elena." She sat down across from him, uninvited. "Must be hard, watching your commander get hurt. Occupational hazard." But his shoulders were tense. "He's lucky. Fall like that could have been much worse." Elena sipped her own coffee. "The equipment failing like that. I've never seen military gear just give out." Something flickered in Dalton's eyes. "Happens sometimes." "Does it?" "Because I've seen a lot of trauma from military personnel. Equipment failures are rare." She kept her voice casual. "Unless someone wants them to happen." Dalton's hand tightened on his cup. "What are you implying?" "Nothing. Just making conversation." Elena stood. "Get some rest. Commander's going to be fine." She walked away, feeling his eyes on her back. Counting seconds. 3, 4, 5. His phone rang. Elena ducked into an alcove, pulled out her own phone, and activated the audio app she'd downloaded earlier. It was against hospital policy, probably illegal, definitely justified. The cafeteria's acoustics carried voices better than people realized. She was asking questions. Dalton's voice, low and urgent. "About the equipment." "No, I don't think she knows anything. She's just a nurse." "Understood. Tomorrow night. I'll make sure he doesn't leave this hospital alive." Elena's blood went cold. She ended the recording and moved. Rodriguez was in the hallway outside Trauma 1. Elena grabbed his arm and pulled him into an empty supply room. "Ghost," he breathed. "It is you. I knew it when. Dalton's the traitor. He's planning to kill Jensen tomorrow night." Elena's voice was rapid, tactical. "I have a recording of him on the phone. He's working for Volkov." Rodriguez's face hardened. "You're sure?" "Positive. We need to secure Jensen now. If we arrest Dalton without evidence, I have evidence." Elena pulled out her phone. "But we need to do this carefully. Dalton's trained. If he thinks we're onto him, he'll disappear or complete his mission immediately." "What do you need?" Elena's mind was working in patterns she'd thought she'd forgotten. "Jensen needs to be transferred. Somewhere secure. Make it look medical. Say his CT showed something concerning. He needs to go to a military facility. Balboa Naval Hospital. 30 minutes from here." "Perfect. But we need to make Dalton think Jensen's vulnerable during transport." Elena started pacing. What if the transport was intersected? Rodriguez caught on immediately. "Set a trap. Let Dalton call his contact. Tell them when and where Jensen's moving. We control the situation." "Exactly. But I need your word. No one else knows. If there's another traitor, there isn't. I'd bet my life on my team." "You are betting your life." "We all are." Elena met his eyes. "Yemen taught me that intelligence is only as good as the people providing it. Trust gets people killed." Rodriguez's expression softened. "Ghost, what happened in Yemen wasn't, I know, but it taught me to be careful." She took a breath. "We do this quiet. Just us. Jensen. And whoever Jensen trusts, absolutely." They briefed Jensen 20 minutes later. His face went hard when he heard the recording. "Son of a bitch. I trained with Dalton. Trusted him. He's good," Elena said. "That's why they used him. The question is whether you're willing to use yourself as bait." "Damn right I am." Jensen tried to sit up, grimaced. "When?" "Tomorrow night. We announce you're being transferred to Balboa at 2100 hours. Dalton will pass the information along. They'll hit the transport somewhere between here and there. And we'll be waiting." Rodriguez's voice was cold. "How many should we bring?" "4," Elena said. "You, 2 others you trust absolutely, and me." Both men stared at her. "You're a nurse," Jensen said carefully. "I'm also the only one who's definitely not compromised, and the only one trained in close-quarters combat with medical expertise." Elena's voice was steady. "You get shot, Rodriguez might be occupied. I can keep you alive." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "She's right. Fine. But Ghost." Jensen's eyes were serious. "If this goes bad, it won't. This time, I'm in control." Elena headed for the door. "Get some rest, Commander. Tomorrow's going to be a long night." The next evening came too fast. Elena spent the day moving through her shift like a ghost, appropriate, given the name, while her mind ran through scenarios. Volkov would send professionals. They'd be armed, trained, probably ex-military themselves. She hadn't held a weapon in 3 years. Hadn't trained in 3 years. But muscle memory was a strange thing. At 20:30 hours, Elena wheeled Jensen out to the waiting ambulance. Rodriguez drove. Two other SEALs, men Rodriguez vouched for, rode in a chase vehicle behind them. Elena sat beside Jensen, her hand resting on the medical back. Inside, among the legitimate supplies, was something Rodriguez had brought her. A Sig Sauer P226. Navy standard issue. "You don't have to do this," Jensen said quietly. "Yes, I do." Elena checked her watch. ETA to the ambush point. 15 minutes. Rodriguez's voice came through the radio. Empty stretch of industrial road. Perfect place for an intercept. Elena's hands were steady as she checked Jensen's her pulse, her breathing. 3 years away, and the pre-mission calm came back like an old friend. The ambush came at exactly 20:53 hours. 2 black SUVs blocked the road. Men emerged, 4 of them, weapons raised. Professional. Controlled. U.S. Navy. Rodriguez shouted. "Drop your..." Gunfire answered. Rodriguez ducked, returned fire. The chase vehicle's SEALs were out, moving with precision. But one of the shooters was flanking, moving toward the ambulance. Elena was out the back door before she thought about it. The SIG was in her hand, her body moving on pure instinct. The shooter rounded the corner, and her first shot took him in the shoulder. Non-lethal. He dropped. "Ghost." Jensen's voice from inside. "Status. 1 down." Elena moved forward, clearing angles. 2 more shooters were engaged with Rodriguez and his team. The 4th was behind her. She spun, but he was fast, his weapon tracking toward Jensen through the ambulance window. No time for a careful shot. Elena fired twice. Center mass. He dropped. The silence that followed was deafening. "Clear," Rodriguez called. "All hostiles down. 2 dead, 2 wounded. Someone call it in." Elena stood over the man she'd killed, her hands shaking now. 3 years. 3 years of trying to leave this behind. And here she was again, holding a smoking gun. "Ghost." Rodriguez was beside her. "You okay?" "I killed him. You saved Jensen. Saved all of us." Rodriguez gently took the weapon from her hands. "You did good. I'm a nurse." Her voice broke. "I'm supposed to save lives." "You did." His. Rodriguez nodded toward Jensen, who was alive, unharmed, watching through the ambulance window with something like wonder. The aftermath was sirens and questions and federal agents. Dalton was arrested trying to flee the hospital. The wounded attackers talked, giving up Volkov's operation, a shipment of military-grade weapons headed for a domestic terror cell. Lives saved. Disaster averted. Mission success. Elena sat in the hospital break room at dawn, still wearing her scrubs, still shaking. "Martinez." Jensen appeared in the doorway, leaning on crutches. "Can we talk?" She nodded. He sat across from her carefully. "I owe you everything. You owe me nothing. I did my job. Both jobs." Jensen's voice was gentle. "Ghost and Elena. You saved me twice. Once as a nurse, once as an operator. I killed someone last night. You protected people." He leaned forward. "Ghost, I know you're trying to atone. I get it. But maybe you don't have to choose between who you were and who you are. Maybe you can be both." Elena looked at her hands. "I'm a nurse. You're also Ghost. And the world needs both versions of you." Jensen pulled out a card. "We have positions for people with your skill set. Medical advisors to special operations. Teaching tactical medicine. Consulting on hostage situations. Places where you can use everything you learn to save lives. I can't. You don't have to decide now. But Ghost." He stood slowly. "You spent 3 years thinking you were running from who you were. Maybe you were actually becoming someone better. Someone who can do both." After he left, Elena sat alone with her coffee and her thoughts. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of trying to bury Ghost under scrubs and silence. But last night, she'd been both. The operator and the healer. And people were alive because of it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rodriguez. "Yemen survivors having a reunion next month. You should come. For people want to thank you." HM1-inch Elena stared at the message for a long time. For people. The ones she'd saved. Maybe Jensen was right. Maybe she didn't have to choose. She looked at her reflection in the break room window. Elena Martinez, RN, baggy scrubs, tired eyes. But underneath, Ghost was still there. Would always be there. Elena picked up her phone and started typing a response. Outside, the sun was rising over St. Catherine's Medical Center. Her shift was starting. Patients were waiting. And for the first time in 3 years, Elena Martinez smiled. She was exactly where she needed to be. Both versions of her. Finally, completely home.